Hello, everybody. We are here today with Siham, Thomas, and George Duarte. We are from Hortitool, Portugal. Thomas from Italian Berry, Italy, and Siham from Green Smile. We have today a new episode, and we have new guests. Thomas.
Yes, hello. How are you, my friends? I'm doing very well. We are in the middle of a very hot summer in Italy with temperatures well above 30 up to 40 degrees. Very hot.
Hello, everyone. We are pleased to welcome today Fernando, Martino, and Marco Briolini. Thomas, I let you the introduction.
Yes, Fernando Martino is a business development manager, and Marco Briolini is CEO of Agricultural Land Corporation, one of the leading blueberry growers and exporters in Chile. Welcome, Fernando. Welcome, Marco.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks a lot for joining us. I would like to start this conversation today with you telling us a little bit about your history in the business and what is your role in the company for both Fernando and Marco.
Well, I will start. I am one of the founders of the company, and I am the CEO as well. We started the Agricultural Land Corporation back in 2014. Since then, the focus has been investing both in blueberries and walnuts. Since then, we have become one of the major players of the ag industry in Chile. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Of course. Well, I was in charge to develop the commercial platform of the company. I was given the huge responsibility of Marco when we were just growers with 600 hectares of blueberry to develop the commercial area and start working towards vertical integration, getting closer to the markets. And since then, we've grown a lot, as we will tell you a bit later in the conversation.
Thank you for this introduction. I would like to ask a question again to Marco and Fernando. At the beginning, what objective did the company have, and what did you learn from that period to design the positioning and target of the company in the recent years?
I'll take that question first. When we started the company, our goal was to invest in high-value crops. We thought that our background doesn't come from agriculture. We started the company as investors in agriculture, but we quickly realized that we needed to act as growers and not investors. But the business rationale was that we wanted to be in agriculture as a hedge of inflation, and we wanted to be in high-value crops. And why we wanted to be in high-value crops? Because if you want to be in agriculture and you want to have certain say in the market, either you go to annual crops and you have to invest much more money, and you have to invest like in the hundreds of thousands of hectares. Let's say if you do, I don't know, corn or soybeans, etc. You need just a huge amount of capital to start the company. So we started looking at high-value crops where the necessary investment and the number of hectares we needed to be relevant in the business was much lower. So that was our thought process getting into agriculture and into blueberries. So that was the first rationale. The second rationale is like we wanted to have like a scale that it would allow us to be relevant. I always say, well, what's the scale necessary so anybody can pick up my phone call? And that's why we started with 600 hectares of blueberries in Chile, because we wanted to have, we wanted to be able to sell our fruit and become relevant for buyers. And the third rationale about the business was to have a tight focus on control. And many things have changed in our business model, but the thing that hasn't changed and stays relevant is to have very tight control on all aspects of operations. Sometimes control is overlooked in the ag industry. And I think that there's been a progression since we started the business to now, that growers are becoming more and more professional. More technology, more data, more tools to control the business in order to have a good final product and also have a control on the costs. That's one of the variables that we can control.
Yeah, well, from my side, the objective at the beginning in a hugely competitive market industry was like becoming known, and the narrative, the story that we want to tell our customers worldwide, being a newcomer in the exporting business, was sort of easy. I mean, from Chile, we are the largest growers in Chile, very homogeneous quality, one container, one type of fruit from one farm. So that was what was the market demanding from Chile, especially. So from that point of view, the beginning of the commercial story of the company was sort of easy. Then, of course, the key word is quality, and then we had to comply with that, explaining customers how we would warranty, or how we would warranty that we're making our best in order to arrive to markets with high quality. Not homogeneity and consistency in the quality we deliver, that was the main sort of the story. And I think up to now, given the circumstances of the market, we are already well known after 4 years, and that was the easiest part, to tell the narrative. And now is to keep on with that, delivering that consistency. That was the tough part.
Thank you very much. This time of the segment of the episode, we have an introduction for the market trends. This time, Thomas has something to say. Probably we have not so much news. It's holiday time. Before Thomas is coming in with notice information, can you explain to us, Marco and Fernando, how big the farms are? What is the size of the company in terms of production area? Something to introduce our audience and to understand the scale that we are talking about now.
Yes, we have in total in Chile, we have 2,150 hectares, out of which we have 600 hectares planted with blueberries. We have almost 300 hectares planted with walnuts. We also have we are leasing a pack house right now, so we do our own processing of the fruit, and we have, like, we just opened an operations office in Europe, where we also lease a pack house, and we have some presence in China. That's the size in terms of hectares and the scope of our operations right now. We have, in terms of volume, last season we had 4 million kilos of blueberries, of fresh blueberries, and also we have a couple of million of frozen blueberries. For this coming year, I think we're going to grow 20% just with our fruit. So that's the scale of the company. One of the things that we find very, very useful for us is the control of the entire supply chain. That's why when we are in the harvest season, we have teams in all destination markets, and we open all the containers with our customers. That gives us the visibility of how the fruit arrives, and also give us some commercial flexibility as well, because we know what happens with the fruit, and we can make decisions just in time in order to give our clients the best possible fruit, and also try to get the best possible prices.
Okay, thank you. Thomas, you want to say something, Fernando, also to add to the information that Marco?
Yes, I think that in the last 2 years we have seen major changes in the overseas shipments, and lately also in the cost structure of agricultural production worldwide. Has that impacted on your business, and what do you think will happen next season compared to this season?
I'll take that question. In terms of cost, it's I mean we have cost increase mainly in shipments and fertilizers, packaging material. We have been able to absorb most of the costs by creating operational efficiencies on the fertilization part. And also we've been able to save some costs by shipping more bulk food. But it has had an impact in our cost structure. But we've been able to absorb most of it. And my comment about this is that it is necessary to have scale in order to absorb those costs. If you are a small grower, it is more challenging to absorb costs. So I think that the tendency that we've seen in the last several years is that bigger players are becoming more relevant, not only in the blueberry industry, but in the ag industry in general. So I think that there's an opportunity for small growers to unite forces, so they are able to better absorb the increase of the cost increase. That's a trend that we're seeing now. I don't think that it will last forever, because agriculture is a very long-term business, and you have to have a long-term view, but you have to have the agility and the adaptability to react fast. And in that sense, when your cost base increases, you need to have having great productivity and great varieties. It becomes more and more relevant.
Okay, thank you. I have another question. Tell us about the Chilean season. What you forecast for next year? What kind of difficulties and challenges you going to face these seasons?
Well,
Fernando
no
or
mystery.
Marco, who want to start?
Well, actually, no mystery in that it was a hugely challenging season for Chile, but for Peru as well. For every single overseas country exporting blueberries that have to travel 15, 20, 30, sometimes due to the logistic problems, more than 50 days. So, fruit are not screws and they deteriorate the longer the transit times and the unloading of the vessel in the terminals. So that was hugely challenging for Chile. Now, as an industry, we are organizing in order to overcome those problems. Like, for instance, the industry negotiated with some shipping lines, direct vessels, faster vessels to the East Coast in the US. Yeah, we are Chile. Marco will tell you a bit more about it, but Chile, honestly, sure will ship less fruit than last season. More fruit will remain in Chile. We're going to be even more careful with the fruit we put in a container without its destination. So we are very much aware that we have to improve the image. That was mainly, to our understanding, it was mainly to blame on not only, but mainly to blame on shipping lines. But we are struggling and we are working hard to improve the image of Chile.
Thank you.
I have a question. Your company is operating in China and has an office in Europe. What are the perspectives for these markets?
Well, first of all, China, Sihan. China, is a huge market. The individual intake of blueberries in China is negligible, close to zero as compared to the US, the UK, and Europe. So it has a huge potential. However, China is extremely demanding in quality. They pay great prices as long as the quality is superb. I mean, firmness, sweetness, full bloom, crunchy fruit, and so on. But if you don't have quality at arrival, it is really, really complicated with prices. So China is a challenging market only for the brave. We consider us brave ourselves, so China for us has been historically very important. The percentage of fruit we send to China is a lot higher than the average of Chile. So we have to have it clear that China is demanding, and we have high expectations still on China, even though it's challenging from the point of view I just told you, and from a logistic point of view as well. The COVID cases in China, you never know, and there are a few cases. They just close the terminals, close the cities, but that situation is improving. Regarding Europe, it's also a huge market. Germans are consuming more and more blueberries. The UK is a very sophisticated market, a trendsetter market, so it's a lot to learn from the UK. And as we increase the size of packages in Germany, there is a lot of room to grow. And as Thomas said, Italy, my opinion as well. Mediterranean countries have a huge potential as well. It's about developing those markets and running some risks, control risks, but we see for Europe with a huge potential. That's why we open an office, as Siham said, there. This is regardless of the inflation, the present and oncoming inflation.
Thank you.
Thomas,
Yes,
you are
I agree. Yes, I agree with you. There is a huge potential still around the world, and the consumption of blueberries is already quite high in the US, in UK, is growing in Europe. Do you think that the new varieties coming on board with new genetics and new features with the improved flavor, improved crunchiness, and so on, could lead to a second age of consumption increase all over the world?
I will leave Marco start with the answer to this question, and I will complement.
Thank you, Fernando. I absolutely, I think that the new varieties are going to help with consumption. Basically, when the consumer goes to the supermarket and finds a very high quality fruit that he or she enjoys, there's a great likelihood that the purchase will be repeated. So it's very, very important to have the right varieties in order to repeat that experience and basically increase the consumption. However, there are a few things that I consider very relevant because varieties themselves, although they help, they don't make the difference. Basically, there's a lot of work that has to happen behind the scenes. All the, you have to do the right fertilization, you have to do the right pruning, you have to have the right harvest timing. There are many things, the supply chain has to work perfectly. So I think that varieties can help increase consumption, but growers need to understand that they have to do a very good work behind the scenes. That's one thing. And for the grower to do a good job, they have to make money. So basically, supermarkets, importers, they need to also focus that the grower needs to make money in order to put all the effort because there's a high cost in advance in order to get the product to the market. So I think that is a collaborative effort of all the forces. Supermarkets, they need to put the right price. Importers, they need to push the fruit in the right way. Growers, they need to have all the operational aspects of the business in control, and of course with the right varieties.
Yeah, I agree that genetics are like a promise. It's okay, this is how it tastes. When you go to a supermarket and you show me genetics and so on, they taste great. But as Marco said, fully agree, there's a lot of work to be done backwards. But it is good what some British companies have done and American companies in the sense of developing new genetics, Australian companies trying to improve the offer to the consumer, to the final consumer. And definitely genetic has a lot to do and has done a lot historically. But as Marco again said, it's about productivity and taking care of the growers as well. You might have great fruit at arrival, but just picking 10 tons rather than 20 or 25. So it's about adding value. Genetic has to add value not only to the retailers, but all of the actors in the chain backwards. Not to mention the growers. We are growers ourselves. So it has to make money for everybody. But there is a wider variety of offer now, definitely.
If I may, um, we're exposed to different actors in the value chain. And we are growers, and we talk to growers, and the growers think about their farm and their effort, etc. And there's a disconnection with the end consumer. And then we talk to supermarkets and importers, and the supermarkets and importers, they just want to see perfect fruit 52 weeks of the year. And I think that there's a big opportunity that even though the value chain is getting shorter and shorter, and supermarkets now, they want to know the growers, etc., and there's been a lot of effort. I think that there's a great opportunity for these two forces, which are the most important forces in the value chain, to work together so everybody wins.
Yes, I think this is very important. And from that point of view, what is the role of your association, the Blueberry Committee and ASOEX, in putting these two parts of the industry together and let them talk, and giving both information to make it work better for everybody?
Well, actually, the Chilean Blueberry Committee has done a great job. Since in Chile, at one time, like 15 years ago, we were just us as suppliers. So we leaned a bit back, while other competitors were planting in Morocco, in Peru, Mexico, and so on. But the industry reacted a bit late, I would say. But as you know, Chile classifies varieties for the genetics according to class A, class B, and C. And it's very dynamic because the market became more demanding, and the results of or the quality of the arrival of each variety improves or get worse. By the way, it's not just about genetics, it's about how you handle the cold chain. The Blueberry Committee moves variety A or B or C, they degrade them or upgrade them. And now there are new genetics in that list, in class A type, and the Blueberry Committee, of course, pushes and recommends growers to renew their varieties. But this is about money as well. Growers can get those recommendations, but at the end, it's about investing. And you cannot just rip off 20 hectares or 10 hectares or 5 hectares of Vivida or O'Neill and just put these superb genetics overnight. It's about economics. But the Blueberry Committee is doing its job. It's about the rest of the growers and the chain, the industry, to really acknowledge that the market is becoming more and more competitive.
Thomas, you have no mic.
Sorry. I have one more question regarding the Chilean industry in terms of the labor issue. How are you handling the labor issues which everybody in agriculture is confronted with worldwide? And what is the influence of mechanization in harvesting in your company?
I'll take that question. In terms of labor, although it's been a challenge, what we found is that it's very important to work and have a connection with your workers throughout the year. It's not just a matter of, I don't know, I need people for my harvest season, and then that's it. So I think that establishing a relationship with your workers, although they could be seasonal workers, but establishing a relationship with them throughout the year makes a difference. So yes, there are challenges, but also there are opportunities. We have to also understand that companies are inserted in an environment. There's a social responsibility for companies that not only to be employers of people, but to do good in the community. And we as a company, we have taken a lead role to support the communities we are in, and it has been paying off. And it not only has been paying off uh, because we can get the workers we need, but also it pays off because we are helping the community. We also have been employing people who started as seasonal harvest workers, and now they are in supervisor roles or they are in higher roles in the company. So we've seen an opportunity to positively impact the life of people. And we have also been working with educational institutions to give people better tools to do their jobs in a better way, but also to have more skills, and those additional skills and those that added value makes them to receive a higher compensation. So I think that whenever you see any relationship as transactional, I think that it can have like a very short timing of short lasting effects. But whenever you try to develop relationships and you don't see them as transactional, but you want to build up on them and you want to invest on them, that's where the opportunities are, and that's how you engage people. And it not only happens with just seasonal workers, but happens with suppliers, happens with your employees, it happens with the government. Like agriculture companies are in a position that they are exposed to different constituencies, and I think that you have to develop relationships with all of them.
Yeah, just one thing to complement what Marco said. Imagine that we have to hire more 4,000 people in our peak week. So the impact we have as a company in the area where we have our largest farm is huge.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of people that you have to hire in a short time. Regarding the question from Thomas, the mechanization is something that the company or in Chile is being receptive to add and complement the lack of or shortage of labor in a certain period of time. There's any tests being done, there's already some results. What's have been your feedback or any information on that regard?
We have done, and we own harvest machines. We do we do machine harvest for frozen, for IQF. We have done some trials for fresh. The results are mixed. So right now, from Chile, I would say that it's challenging to do machine harvest for fresh, but I trust that genetics and technology will catch up at some point. I think that you can do machine harvest for fresh when you're very close to the market, let's say in the US. I think that for Chile right now, still is in very early stages.
Yeah, no, the same. I mean, mechanical harvest is definitely for the IQF industry so far. We expect that there will be some robots being as careful as human beings to pick a blueberry that will have to travel for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But so far, we haven't came across with such a technology.
So it means that if you are closer to the market, it could be a solution without compromising quality. But for a long distance market that you have as China or as Europe, traveling through with containers and being on a sea for a long time can be problematic, because that's what you told us, Fernando, is how the fruits arrive on a client, what kind of conditions the fruit arrives. So
and one comment
yes,
about that, because it's very interesting that, I don't know, when you see developments in markets that are closer to the end consumer, let's say Morocco or Mexico, even Peru now, you see that the development is more like growing in pots. So growing in pots solves many issues and helps your productivity, but on the flip side, it doesn't allow you to do mechanical harvest. So that's an interesting observation, that if one of the things that you're trying to solve is the labor issue, and you will want to do mechanical harvest for fresh from a closer growing platform, I would revise the strategy of growing on pots.
Yeah, and I have to say that the way we replace this impossibility of still using machine harvest for the fresh fruit export, we have to become experts in the cold chain. Chile, because it's a matter of survival, there is a lot of knowledge in Chile about how to handle the cold chain. We have to. So that's a way we replace somehow this impossibility of still having a machine harvester, careful machine harvester available.
yes, thank you very much. One last question before we wrap up. Has been said that agriculture in Chile in general has suffered a severe turn after COVID, due to some things they already explained to us, and also due to today's world economy. Being a matured country in blueberries and having heavy competition from Peru and other companies, novelty countries, what's your feeling through the future? Next year's today's situation, next year's, what's your feeling? Marco and Fernando, you can give us your opinion, please.
I remain optimistic. I see, at least from our point of view, we see more like the big picture. And when you see the big picture, there are always opportunities. I'm not saying that it's not going to be challenging, but if you see the landscape of the world, there are challenges everywhere. You have now China closing a little bit. They are getting more distant to the US. The situation in Russia and Ukraine. Most of the growing countries, they have some sort of challenge. Mexico has its challenges. Peru is having its challenges. Chile as well. So in that world landscape, I think that there's always opportunity for great growers. But you have to do the right things. You have to have the right varieties. You have to have the right scale. I think that the industry in Chile has been, for years, has been kind of like pushing the problem until the problem, pushing away the problem, and the problem has become more evident. I think that there will be fewer growers with bigger scale that are going to be able to basically have the elements, the right investment, the right varieties, the right scale in order to be competitive. So the world is changing fast, and we never know what's going to happen in Peru tomorrow, or we don't know what will happen in Colombia tomorrow. So with that view, it's very important to have a geographic diversification from a production standpoint. And I think that commercial platforms, they have to have their sourcing from all over the world. It's good to have diversification. So I think that there are some opportunities for Chile.
Yeah, and my comment is that Chile so far and for several years will be irreplaceable in some weeks of the year. And that means volume. And even though Morocco is starting earlier and Mexico is earlier as well, and so on, Chile so far is irreplaceable, especially in the second half of December and the whole of January. So as long as we're able to overcome all these problems, the logistic ones, having better genetics, taking care of the cold chain, we'll have good quality at arrival. I was myself 3 months in Europe, and I saw our own fruit and fruit from other growers in Chile and fruit from other exporters from Morocco, from Peru. And there was Chilean fruit traveling for more than 50 days. That was great. That means that Chile can still keep, and we're very much committed to it, to overcome these problems and offer fair to good quality. No doubt about it. And this last season, even though there were some complaints, several complaints about Chile, we look at that reality as an opportunity. I won't mention the name, but we had a couple of meetings with some retailers, and they said, well, they are rushing to Chile to find big guys, homogeneous quality, one container, one type of fruit, to replace some other imports from our country with us. So I foresee opportunities in this period of crisis.
Yes, I also think that the experience and the strength of the Chilean industry will make a difference in the future. It's tough times for everybody, and you can grow and build on something which is decades experience, which I think would make a difference. And just to wrap it up at the end of this conversation, I think it was a good start when Marco said that his idea was to start as an investor, but then he suddenly realized that he had to become a grower. And from what we have heard, you have become a very passionate and knowledgeable grower. And we have seen that the industry is facing major challenges. And you want to boost also and improve what your company is doing in terms of technology, data, tools, and things like that, which I think are still an untapped potential in agriculture and in the fruit business in particular. I was glad to hear that you were able to cover most of the increased cost, which have been a major challenge for the industry. I have heard that in Chile, for example, top fruit growers were left with fruit on the trees this year, which is an absolute disaster. So it's something which, as you were saying, only the brave. This applies both to the markets, but also I think nowadays to what's happening in production. I appreciated also your view, which was say a wide view in what in terms of the varietal development. You're right, in my opinion, in saying that you don't need only good varieties. You must be in control 100% of also what comes before and after that. And in particular, the challenges in post-harvest and logistics, which nowadays have proven to be really crucial. And interesting to hear that also in Chile, all the social responsibility and CSR issues are becoming more and more important. I think that this will be a challenge for the future. People in Europe and in the US are getting really crazy about that. And I think that nobody in our industry can afford a scandal, a potential scandal in that area. It would be really very, very harmful. So I thank you for joining us. I wish your country and your company a good and strong season on all your segments, from China to Europe to US to UK. It will be challenging, but we will have fun.
Okay. Thank you very much to all of you. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jorge. Great meeting you.
Thank you for your time. I know that's precious. The final words now is we are waiting for see your fruits in our shelves in Europe next winter, next autumn and winter. Hopefully, any supermarket close to us. For anything you need from us, we are open to matchmaking and also bringing your company to other places in Europe. I want to thank you all for this, Iham and Thomas, Fernando and Marco. Once again, to all our viewers, stay tuned for the Berry Talks. Next week, we're going to have an episode in September, also after the holidays. And let's talk about berries. Thank you all for being here with us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh.